The Galactic Dominion had one rule that every species feared. Never misclassify a human. But rules didn't matter much to bureaucrats. Especially not on Varkon Prime, the deadliest military world in the known galaxy. A planet where oceans boiled near volcanic coasts. Where gravity was nearly twice that of Earth. Where children of apex predator species hunted armored beasts before they learned mathematics. This was the Predator Academy. A brutal institution designed to forge the galaxy's most terrifying warriors. Only the strongest species were accepted. The Vraxians, 9-foot reptilian warlords with titanium-like scales. The Carrid, fanged nightstalkers who could smell fear hormones. The Threx, 4-armed jungle hunters with reflexes faster than combat drones. And then there was Elias Carter. Age, 17. Species, human. Origin, Earth. Classification error code, administrative misplacement. The Academy's quantum sorting system had confused human adaptive combat scholarship with humanitarian diplomatic observer. One missing hyphen. And Elias was enrolled as a Predator cadet. At first, the administration laughed. Human. Commander Drax scoffed, his serrated jaw flexing. The hairless primate species that fractured its own world over politics. The admissions board considered removing him immediately. But Academy law was absolute. Once accepted, only death or graduation could remove a cadet. So Elias stayed. And every Predator in Sector 9 thought he'd be dead by sunrise. The first day began in the Blood Arena. 10,000 cadets filled Obsidian Stadium seats, roaring as new students were thrown into combat trials. The rules were simple. Survive. Not win. Not impress. Just survive. The first initiate, a Vraxian, fought a razor-claw beast and barely escaped with one arm. The second was dragged out unconscious. Then Elias's name echoed. Silence fell. Even the beast handlers laughed. A human, one sneered. This won't take long. They released a juvenile Krothmaw. 8 feet tall. 3 jaws. Bone-plated hide. A creature designed to slaughter military-grade infantry. Elias walked into the arena wearing the standard cadet uniform. No armor. No weapon. No enhancements. The crowd howled. Commander Drax leaned forward eagerly. Observe, he said. This is why weaker species obey. The gate opened. The Krothmaw charged. Most cadets screamed. Elias didn't. Because humans had something the galaxy never properly understood. Not superior strength. Not claws. Not venom. Pattern recognition. In 1 second, Elias noticed. Its left leg dragged slightly. Old injury. Its upper jaw snapped wider than the lower. Blind spot during lunge. Arena sand was loose near the eastern wall. The beast lunged. Elias ran toward it. The stadium gasped. At the last possible moment, he slid beneath its attack, grabbed a broken fong from a previous fight buried in the sand. And stabbed upward through the soft tissue under its skull. One strike. The Krothmaw collapsed instantly. Dead. The arena was silent. Not because a human survived. But because he had done something predators never considered. He used intelligence, speed, and environmental adaptation over brute force. A Threx cadet whispered. That was terrifying. Commander Drax stopped smiling. For the first time. He looked uncertain. By week 2, Elias became a rumor. By week 3. He became a problem. The Academy's social hierarchy depended on dominance. And dominance was built on fear. But Elias kept winning. Combat simulations. Tracking exercises. Pain endurance trials. Not because he was the strongest. Because humans were evolved persistence hunters. While predators exhausted themselves in explosive bursts. Elias just kept going. And going. And going. In the Death Forest trial, cadets were dropped into a bioengineered jungle with limited supplies. Most elite species hunted each other for resources. Elias? He built traps. Weaponized local insects. Created false trails. By day 4, entire predator squads were surrendering because they thought an invisible monster was stalking them. One Vraxian captain was found hanging upside down in a vine snare with, "Tag, you're dead," carved into his armor. Psychological warfare. Predators began checking shadows. Then vents. Then ceilings. Cadets who once mocked humans started locking their dormitory doors. Not to keep Elias out. But because they were terrified he could get in. And sometimes. He did. Just to prove a point. No violence. No threats. They'd wake up and find Elias sitting calmly in a chair. "Your security is terrible," he'd say. Then leave. Fear became obsession. What kind of predator are humans? The Academy database gave contradictory answers. Pack-bonding social mammals. Tool makers. Endurance hunters. War specialists. Insane. One professor finally summarized humanity in a single sentence. Humans are the species that weaponized persistence, creativity, and spite. That terrified everyone. Because now the predators understood. They weren't training Elias. They had accidentally given a human access to their training. And every lesson made him worse. Stronger. Smarter. Deadlier. Then came the Midnight Gauntlet. A graduation pre-trial so brutal that 40% of cadets failed permanently. Participants had to cross the Hall of Hunters. A maze where senior cadets hunted them for 12 hours. For fun. Elias entered alone. By sunrise. Every hunter team had been eliminated. Some trapped. Some unconscious. Some psychologically broken. One squad leader simply repeated. He kept smiling. When they reviewed security footage, the instructors were horrified. Elias had not merely survived. He had hunted the hunters. By using their aggression against them. Ambushing apex predators. Manipulating rival teams into fighting each other. Turning the maze into his ecosystem. Commander Drax watched the footage in silence. Then issued the first security directive in Academy history. All cadets are required to secure personal quarters after curfew. A student asked why. Drax answered. Because the human is learning. And across Predator Academy. Doors began locking. For the first time in galactic history. The monsters under the bed were checking for humans. They had mocked him. Laughed when he arrived. Bet on how quickly he'd die. Now. Entire bloodlines of apex predators whispered warnings to their children. If you see the human, run. Elias Carter was no longer a clerical mistake. He was a systemic failure in galactic assumptions. Because Predator Academy had discovered something ancient Earth already knew. Humans do not need to be the biggest creature in the room, to become the most dangerous. And Elias was adapting faster than anyone imagined. Every species at the Academy relied on instinct. Claws. Strength. Enhanced senses. But Elias came from a world where instinct alone got you killed. Humans survived ice ages. Supervolcanoes. Plagues. Wars. Each other. By comparison, alien predators were predictable. And predictability was weakness. So while others trained harder, Elias trained smarter. He studied species psychology. Vraxians were pride-driven. Easy to provoke. Carrid relied heavily on scent. Mask odor, and they panicked. Threx had superior reflexes. But overcommit in pursuit. He wasn't fighting cadets anymore. He was decoding them. Like prey patterns. Which was deeply unsettling. Because predators were not used to being understood that way. 3 months into term, Academy Command made a decision. Break him. Not kill. Not expel. Break. Because if a human could outperform elite predator bloodlines, the political consequences would be catastrophic. So they created Trial Zero. A punishment disguised as opportunity. A classified exercise used only for the most uncontrollable cadets. Objective. Survive 7 days on Moon VX-9. No food. No tech. No rescue. The moon was an uninhabitable death zone populated by Nightfang stalkers. Creatures so aggressive even Vraxians avoided them. Cadets called it the Grave Semester. When Elias's assignment was announced, the Academy celebrated. Finally. The human would disappear. Commander Drax himself dropped Elias onto VX-9. Before leaving, he offered one final insult. Any last words, human? Elias adjusted his survival pack, looked at the toxic storms. And smiled. Yeah. You should have sent more. For 7 days. Nothing. No signal. No distress beacon. No corpse. By day 5, even Drax assumed Elias was dead. By day 7. The moon's emergency perimeter alarm triggered. Not from Elias. From the Nightfang population. Thousands of creatures were stampeding away from one region. Away from something worse. Rescue drones arrived. What they found became Forbidden Academy footage. Elias had done the impossible. He hadn't survived VX-9. He had conquered it. Using sharpened bones, environmental hazards, and scavenged materials. He built fortified shelters. Trap fields. Signal fires. He had systematically turned apex Nightfangs into territorial deterrents. Some were even marked with warning scars. As if they had learned to fear him. But worst of all. At extraction point 0. Elias wasn't waiting alone. He had domesticated one. A 12-foot Nightfang alpha sat beside him like a war beast. When Drax's shuttle landed, the alpha growled. Elias casually scratched its neck. It's okay, girl. The Academy command logs recorded Drax's biometrics at that moment. Heart rate spike, 212. Fear response, extreme. Because no predator conquered Nightfangs. They escaped them. Elias had pack bonded with a nightmare. When he returned, everything changed. The mockery ended. The silence began. Predator cadets moved aside in hallways. Instructors stopped volunteering for demonstration matches. Even senior Warborn avoided unnecessary eye contact. Dormitory security sales increased 900%. Some cadets installed motion trackers. Others slept armed. Not because Elias attacked anyone. But because he could. And they no longer understood his limits. The phrase spread through Academy channels. Humans aren't predators. Predators kill. Humans strategize. No one knew who said it first. But everyone believed it. Then came Interspecies Combat Ranking Day. The annual event where cadets were ranked by combat effectiveness. This wasn't symbolic. Top-ranked cadets were recruited directly into Dominion Black Ops. The deadliest military force ever assembled. Every species wanted rank 1. For centuries, humans weren't even considered candidates. Elias changed that. His final opponent? Zorvok the Unbroken. A genetically perfected Vraxian champion. 10 feet tall. Powered exoskeletal bone armor. Undefeated in 312 matches. Zorvok's opening statement was broadcast academy-wide. "You are in error. I am correction." Elias simply replied. "You talk too much." The match began. Zorvok attacked like an avalanche. Fast. Brutal. Precise. He shattered steel barriers. Cracked combat flooring. Forced Elias entirely defensive. For 3 straight minutes. It looked hopeless. Then cadets noticed something. Elias wasn't losing. He was measuring. Distance. Timing. Fatigue. Because humans had another terrifying trait. We learn while bleeding. Zorvok overextended one strike. 1. Elias moved. Dislocated wrist. Shattered knee joint. Severed equilibrium nerve. 3 strikes. 8 seconds. Zorvok collapsed. Alive. Defeated. Academy medical staff later confirmed Elias had specifically avoided lethal points. He could have killed him. He chose not to. And somehow, mercy was more terrifying. Because it proved control. By the end of the year, the Academy's official danger doctrine was rewritten. Previous top threat species. Vraxian. Threx. Carrot. Updated list. Human. Human under stress. Human with preparation time. Commander Drax's private recommendation to Galactic High Command was simple. Do not provoke Earth. His second recommendation. Do not educate them further. Too late. Because Elias Carter graduated top of Predator Academy. And on graduation day, every cadet in attendance received ceremonial blades. Except Elias. He was given something unprecedented. A secure command key. To every locked door in the academy. Drax handed it over Graduation should have been the end. For most cadets, it was. A title. A command post. A place in the Dominion war machine. But for Elias Carter, graduation was merely containment failure. Because Predator Academy had spent years forging the galaxy's deadliest species into weapons. And then accidentally handed their entire doctrine to a human. Every strategy. Every war philosophy. Every classified combat method. The Dominion believed Elias would become one of them. They were wrong. Because humans had a dangerous habit the galaxy still underestimated. We ask why. And Elias had one question he couldn't ignore. If the galaxy's predators were this afraid of humans, what exactly had they been preparing for? His answer came 6 days after graduation. Black Directive. Top secret. Priority extinction level. Elias was summoned before the Dominion High Council, a chamber so secure even planetary governors were denied entry. 12 ruling species. 12 apex civilizations. And every one of them looked uneasy when he entered. Not because he was disrespectful. Not because he was aggressive. But because Elias walked into the room the same way he walked into combat. Like he had already identified every exit. Supreme Marshal Kareth, a cybernetically enhanced warlord from the Dravik hegemony, finally spoke. Cadet Elias Carter, you have been selected for Black Ops Unit Obsidian. The room projected a star map. And for the first time, Elias understood. The Predator Academy was never designed to create soldiers for peacekeeping. It was preparing for war. A real one. Beyond Dominion space, entire sectors had gone dark. Colonies erased. Battle fleets vanished. Predator species slaughtered so completely that only drifting wreckage remained. The culprit? A species known only as the Hollow. No diplomacy. No communication. No survivors. They didn't conquer worlds. They harvested them. Entire populations disappeared, stripped for biomass and neural data. Even the Dominion's strongest warriors had failed. Vraxians? Destroyed. Carried. Hunted. Threx. Assimilated. For the first time in recorded galactic history, predators had encountered something above them on the food chain. And they were losing. Kareth leaned forward. We built Predator Academy to create warriors capable of stopping them. A pause. It failed. Elias crossed his arms. Then why am I here? Silence. Commander Drax, standing in ceremonial armor, answered. Because you are not what we trained for. He activated combat footage from Elias's academy years. Trap engineering. Psychological warfare. Improvisation. Persistence. You are what evolution made when prey refused extinction. Unit Obsidian deployed within the hour. A strike force composed of the greatest killers in known space. Drax. Zorvok. Carried Shadowmaster Vayne. Threx Hunt Mother Sala. And Elias. Their destination. Outpost Cerberus, 9. A military fortress orbiting a dead moon. Last transmission. They are inside. Then static. When Obsidian arrived, the station was silent. No explosions. No alarms. Just darkness. The kind that felt intentional. Boarding teams entered. Hallways were coated in strange black organic residue. Armor-plated doors had been peeled open from the inside. Bodies were missing. Not dead. Missing. Then Elias noticed the walls. Scratch marks. Patterns. A warning. 3 repeated symbols translated by his helmet AI. Don't make sound. Too late. Something moved. Fast. Faster than Vraxian reflexes. A Dominion elite vanished into the ceiling. No scream. Just blood. Then another. Infrared failed. Motion sensors failed. Even scent tracking failed. The Hollow weren't just stronger. They were adaptive predators. They learned systems instantly. Fear spread. For the first time, Elias saw Apex warriors panic. And panic? Panic gets you killed. Lights out, Elias ordered. Drax snarled. Are you insane? Trust me. Emergency power died. Darkness swallowed everything. The squad froze. Then. Elias smiled. Because Earth had monsters too. And unlike most species, humans learned long ago that darkness wasn't a predator's advantage. It was everyone's equalizer. Elias switched to analog tactics. Sound bait. Thermal decoys. Manual traps. He wasn't trying to overpower the Hollow. He was teaching them a fatal lesson. Humans don't need superior biology to weaponize environment. The first Hollow died to decompression. The second to redirected plasma. The third? Elias lured into a maintenance corridor and vented into reactor flame. For the first time, the creatures hesitated. And hesitation was human territory. By dawn cycle, Obsidian had done the impossible. They held Cerberus, 9. Not by fighting harder. By fighting like humans. Improvisation over doctrine. Chaos over hierarchy. Creativity over instinct. The surviving Dominion officers were horrified by after-action analysis. Because Elias had identified the Hollow's weakness in under 6 hours. They adapted to patterns. So he became patternless. Unpredictable. Erratic. Strategic insanity. In simple terms, he fought like a human. News spread fast. Too fast. For centuries, predator species had ruled through physical superiority. Now whispers crossed the stars. The human survived the hollow. Then the human killed the hollow. Then the most terrifying truth of all. The human figured them out. Earth, once considered politically unstable and militarily primitive, was suddenly re-evaluated. Not as a minor species, but as a strategic nightmare. Because the galaxy realized something too late. Predator species evolved to dominate ecosystems. Humans evolved to break them. As hollow invasions escalated, Dominion worlds made a desperate choice. They requested Earth. Not for surrender. For alliance. But humanity didn't send fleets first. They sent advisors. Engineers. Logistics planners. Psychologists. The council was confused. Where are your warlords? Earth's response became legendary. You already met one. Now you meet the species. Within months, Dominion battle doctrine changed completely. Humanity redesigned ships for adaptability. Introduced decentralized command. Taught resistance warfare. Turned civilian systems into military assets. Predator empires believed war was won by strength. Humans taught them war was won by refusing to lose. And Elias Carter, the clerical error, became the architect of galactic resistance. Then came the message. Intercepted from hollow deep space. Translated after weeks of decryption. It contained only one line. Avoid Terran strategist. The Dominion Council reread it 17 times. Because that message meant one impossible thing. The Hollow were afraid. Not of fleets. Not of weapons. Of one human. Commander Drax laughed harder than anyone had ever heard. A brutal, scarred predator warlord. Actually laughed. Then he issued a Dominion-wide alert. Lock every door. A junior officer blinked. Against the Hollow. Drax's grin widened. No. In case Elias gets ideas. And somewhere, aboard the flagship Resolute Dawn. Elias Carter stared into enemy territory, humanity's insignia burned into his armor. Not prey. Not predator. Something worse. A species too stubborn to die. Too creative to predict. Too angry to surrender. The galaxy had made one small administrative mistake. And now, every monster in the stars was learning the same lesson. Never put a human in your war school, unless you're ready for what graduates.